Welcome to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sports.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Pavilion, your home for fantasy sport. Next to me, as you can see, Michael inside the building, right? Trying something new, trying to have a few episodes where we're in person. Of course, before we go any further, I have to talk about Hungarian, right? You would have seen our video that we had up on the channel where myself, Michael, Rachel, we were all outbound Sunday, taking in the Hungarian GP. Michael, again, your quick thoughts on the Hungarian GP, and there's a lot of talking points from the GP.
No, but all in all, so we could do a quick dive of the race itself. It was a really enjoyable race. I think there are lots of different elements for persons to see again the importance of song strategy. So I think the last two races, maybe even the last three races, have been really good points to show how important having a really good strategy is important, because I mean, you could take Ferrari to show how bad strategy really ruins a race. You could take instances from Mercedes where really good strategy helps you. Then you could see where people will say this weekend Red Bull's strategy wasn't that good, and so puts in Max in the positions that he was in. You see where in the British Grand Prix how McLaren made some poor strategy calls. So I think the last few races really shows us how important having strong strategy in our races. But as it relates to the racing on Sunday going on the Hungarian Grand Prix, it was top tier from first corner. As I said, the first corner is always a corner where there is some kind of drama at Hungary. And I think we got away unscathed. There was no accidents, thankfully. But you had Max going off.
Yes.
And then having to give back the place and feeling like shouldn't I be having to give this back? Then, you know, the team took the decision just give him back the place, we'll get it back. And they just never got it back. But more than likely, if it is he did keep the position, the FIA would have stepped in and told him give the position back, or just given him a 5.5 second penalty, which could hurt your race a lot more than just giving back the position. So I think all in all, it was a really good race. I'm really glad to see Lewis on the podium again. That's back-to-back podiums. So definitely he's cooking with some gas. Spa is a track that he's done well at with, I think, like 4 victories. So it's really exciting. You're going to see Piastri coming up on the tail of his victory. Maybe a little bit of sweet given the controversy around the victory itself. And then you have Norris, who is a different beast right now. I think he's just really hungry. He got his first taste of champagne on the top step. He desperately wants more. But I think there is a little bit of growing up to do in a sense. And understanding. I think he is getting a better tunnel vision. He's seeing, okay, cool, I have a car, I have a chance. I need to just run for the championships, which I get why it is he may feel like that way. But I think at the same time, be a bit more realistic in what you can achieve, in the sense of, okay, cool, the car is performing, let them perfect the car, let them build a better car. Or you don't need to try and win every single race. But again, F1 drivers are extremely competitive. They probably are the most competitive persons in the world. At the end of the day, as Ayrton Senna would have said, if you see a gap, if you no longer go for a gap, then you're no longer a racing driver. I think same thing applies to Max in the collision with Lewis. He saw a gap, he tried to go for it, and Lewis rightfully closed the door, and people will say, oh, it was Max's fault. People would say, oh, it was Lewis' fault. I think Lewis said it right. It was a racing incident.
Correct.
In that At the point in time, Lewis was ahead at the apex of the corner. He turned in, taking his normal line. Max tried to dive bomb, locked up his tires, overcooked it, went straight on, and Lewis went into him. So I don't think it's a Lewis fault or a Max fault. In my opinion, it's Max who did a bit too much. But I think all in all, really, really solid race on Sunday. Hey, Gabby. Evening.
Gabby hearing us? Gabby's not hearing us yet. Okay. All right. But what I would like to touch on, you touch on it slightly, and folks at home watching, the decision with McLaren, Piastri, Lando, in my personal opinion, it was an okay call.
Yeah.
But to me, it clearly shows that McLaren did not talk to the drivers beforehand, because I think 70-something points, we just saw it behind Max,
76
right, in the drivers' championship, constructors championship, right behind too, not far behind.
Correct.
I think they should prioritize Lando right through now. As he rightfully said, Oscar did all the hard work, he deserved it. He was leading from turn 1 and never looked back.
Correct.
Don't get me wrong. That's why I said I agree with the team orders. But I think they should have prioritized
so that's
Lando.
it. So we can agree going ahead in the season. If it is to say, okay, cool, we're gonna treat Lando with some priority simply because he's at the front or he's closest in the drivers fight. Sure, going forward, I think at Spa they did the right thing. So I think as it relates to going forward in the season, maybe at the summer break, they have that discussion. Sit down and say, okay, guys, once it is we can prioritize the driver, we will prioritize Lando simply because he's closer in the championship, not because we dislike you, Piastri, not because we don't think you're skilled or anything, but that's just where we are. But I also think too, Andreas Seidel, the team boss for McLaren, he said the priority is the team. Focus on the team, and if it is you can't focus on the team, you will get yourself in trouble, and that's what it is. He said after the race, he didn't have any doubt. He didn't have a doubt that Lando would give back the place. But at the same time, you literally had Lando's race engineer begging him.
Yeah.
Literally, Lando, you will need Oscar and you will need the team. And that's just such a desperate kind of I don't know what's the word to describe it. Like, it's just such a harsh way of reminding him, do what it is we're asking him to do, because at the end of the day, you will have enemies, whether it's in the team or in your teammate. And I mean, Checo is a perfect example of how important it is to have a teammate when it is you're fighting for a championship. So.
Correct. And I'm glad you brought that up. We've been saying that for the past few weeks. You need a teammate. As much as Max is amazing, look what happened to Max. Yeah, Max has been double teamed.
Exactly. And you could even look back to Lewis days. As much as Lewis was winning and doing as well, or consistently on the podium, and think he had a solid teammate in Valtteri.
Bottas, correct.
Pulling in points, because as much as it is a driver's fight for a championship, there's also the constructors, and you need to have a team constructed consistently bringing in points from the two drivers that they have on the grid, maximizing the points. And that is why we have McLaren catching Red Bull in the constructors' fights. And that is why Red Bull is so desperate, because as much as, yes, Max takes home the title, and think that doesn't do anything for them if they lose the constructor. Winning the constructor is important for the team, for the bonuses that they get as it relates to the staff and that kind of thing. As opposed to like Red Bull giving them bonuses, they win more prize money and that kind of thing by winning the constructors. So it is a very big deal. There's more money going into development and that kind of thing, especially as we go into the new set of regulations in 2026. Every quote-unquote dollar counts as much as you have a cost cap. But it's really important, and that is why Red Bull is desperate to either A, get Checo to perform how he was originally, or get somebody else in his seat.
Yeah. Now let's take a quick look back at the results. So let's start from 10th place, right? We know what happened, who won, but let's focus on 10th place. So let's start from there. Hey, I didn't even realize it was in 10th.
I know who was in
Who
So
come
I know where
again?
I was
I
coming
didn't
with.
know that. Hey, look at that. So of course, Lance Stroll once again in the points. Once again in the points.
Big
Right?
ups, truly.
Yuki Tsunoda again in the points. Right? This is probably the lowest. He probably did, I think he, of course I knew they've come 10th, but in the recent races,
No, and
but doing his thing.
yeah, and then he said somebody asked him anything if it is he will feel weird if it is they choose Liam over him to replace Checo if it is his seats available. And he said if they choose Liam, it would be very weird. And I was watching a breakdown as it's essentially a four-way fight to some extent for the seat. You have Checo fighting for the seat, you have Daniel fighting for the seat, you have Liam Lawson fighting for the seat, and you also have Yuki fighting for the seat. In my opinion, there's the argument that Daniel is an experienced driver, so you want to have somebody thinking they already have some level of idea of what the dynamic will be once this Daniel is in the seat next to Max. But you also have the argument that Daniel has not really been performing.
Correct.
Yuki has been performing better. Put Yuki in his seat, but then and apparently Yuki has the support of Helmut Marko, which is a very important figure in Red Bull. But to say that he has all he say, he does not, because in the past year with the controversy around Red Bull with Christian Horner, there's a big power slip. Apparently, most of the people supporting Horner now, and Helmut doesn't have as much say as he did before. So it's really interesting to see how it will play off. In my opinion, put Yuki in his seat simply because he's been performing. Let's actually see what he could do in a Red Bull. Leave Daniel where he is and put Liam in his seat, let him get some F1 time. But at the same time, the argument exists. Let's put somebody at least older, the more mature, they understand every putting in his seat to just drive the car and end up in the points above 5th place so that we could get your points, you'll get your money and you go home. And is that what Daniel wants? I don't think so. But at the same time, I think he knows how to play the game. So it is a big decision to figure out where they go from there.
Yeah, exactly that. Now, George Russell, right? Dipping form. Yeah. A little dip compared to recent form. Sergio Perez
back up in the points.
Top 10. Been a while.
Is it enough? Is it enough?
Is it enough? I don't think so. I think they really made up their mind.
I mean, yeah, I think they're trying to be nice by saying thing, but nobody will judge who keeps their seat based on one race performance unless he comes, takes pole, wins the race, and get fastest lap, which is highly unlikely. And even if you think it honestly could just be too little, too late. What I mean, it's good to see him coming back in any points, but definitely he needed to be doing this on a lot more consistent basis to actually warrant keeping his seat.
Yeah, big up Risa coming through. Thanks for passing through. Yeah, Yuki has been having an excellent season. Very good, and especially on a car like that. So far less, you put him in something that
can perform. Yeah,
Come on, right? Carlos Sainz 6.
Sainz, yeah.
Pick up Sainz. Verstappen 5th. Charles Leclerc 4th. Hammy 3rd. Lando 2nd, and of course, as we all know, Oscar Piastri.
I think
with his first
Lewis is a lot happier to see where Ferrari ended up this weekend, because maybe the last couple of races he was clenching and worried.
Correct.
I mean, and probably he wasn't as well because he just knows that they have a solid package for next year and the advancement that they're going to take. And he signed a multi-year deal, so it's not that he's basing his entire time there on 2025. Maybe he's looking ahead to the 2026 rule change. So people saying, "Oh, Lewis worried now about trying to get out his contract." No, he's not. He's not. That man is happy at Ferrari.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, guys. So what we are gonna do now, of course, Hungary was a great race. Belgium is coming up, and now, as we know, Max had received a grid penalty. Now, so he 10. So anything he does, 10 places.
So
now.
once Red Bull takes the engine, which they will this weekend, he's gonna take that 10 place grid penalty, which means even if he starts on pole, it's gonna be 10 places back. And then he has to hold up well, he's just going to have a fight from 10th place. If he qualifies anywhere other than first place, he's going to start equally as back 10 places. So God forbid, God forbid, he can qualify fifth. He will start the race in 15th, which will make things a lot interesting because he's going to have to fight through that midfield. You're going to see that Red Bull work. You might see some interesting strategies to try and make up the gap. Then to Spa is a really tricky track that if it has weather, it can be extremely dangerous. It's a very high speed track. So God forbid you get some rain, you might have a safety car come out. Spa is a track that has claimed lives of drivers before, most notably Anton Hubert some years ago. A really good friend, Pierre Gasly, and I think that was in Formula 2. So it is a dangerous track, especially if it's wet. That, I mean, as we go through the track guide, you'll see the corners where it is so dangerous. But there's chances for Max to get. So I think of the tracks to take a penalty, maybe Spa is the best track to take it at, in the sense that one is right before the break. So whatever happens, we could do the damage control. We have a couple of weeks to breathe, catch ourselves, figure out what's the game plan to start back. But also, too, is one of the tracks in most recent times with the highest likelihood of having a safety car and that kind of thing. It's an extremely high-speed track, which will favor the Red Bull, especially going through corners like Rouge and Radion. This has some really long straightaways, and Lewis has constantly commented on the speed the Red Bull has in a straight line. So I think if it is there was a track for them to take a handicap, this is the race to do it, and they're playing the game correctly.
Yeah. Just want to shout everybody on the Instagram Live. You could also come across the YouTube as well. Smash the like button. Big up Marlon. Says still going to finish in front Checo. Big up Checo now. I'll go with him, man. He was a he got permission to finish in the top 10. He was given permission. Right, you get permission. All right, so of course, before we move on, this is very interesting to me. I don't really care about the Drivers' Championship. I think it's a little too late to catch Max. I think Lando should have won the last three races, so since
if it is
Canadian and all that, all the others, if Lando won those, boom. But I think it's a little too late. But barring anything unforeseen, we're seeing a lot of unforeseen things happening to Max, right? A lot of things. But this, I think, is key. And if Piastri and Lando could remain friends, hopefully they're okay, and work hard and finish 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, at least 2-3. And once Max is behind them, and once Max is in the back,
they will be safe.
This,
I think,
will be very interesting.
So McLaren can win the championship without their drivers winning. I think if they consistently finish even 2-3, and the second Red Bull driver, whether it's Checo, whoever else they bring in, and that person finishes 4th, 5th, underneath that, they will take the thing. Because at the end of the day, it's consistent points over the max amount of points that you're looking for. So,
but that's a good point you raised there, you know. Checo's not going to be there forever. If Checo stays, then they have a chance. But if they bring in somebody, well, I mean, if they bring in Danny, maybe.
If they bring in,
but Yuki.
No, but even bringing in Yuki, you remember the Red Bull is a different car. As much
of course. It's
a different car. The pressure that exists in Red Bull itself is,
and they cannot outshine Max. The outshine Max clause is 10 lines long, so you can't do that.
So there's a lot of pressure that goes on at Red Bull. If Yuki goes, can he survive? We'll see. But I mean, Red Bull is a very ruthless team. So you have to be on your P's, your Q's, your R's, and your S's.
No race. You can't do that. No switching, right? Now, but hopefully Ferrari can do the thing next. But Lewis moving to Ferrari and Ferrari having their problems. What I like about Lewis is a driver. So no matter what, once the car is doing its thing, Lewis will do his thing. And you've seen that with Mercedes. So despite the poor strategy, Lewis has the most experience. Well, I mean, barring Alonso, right? But Lewis is amazing. We've seen that. Right? So I think barring any, their messed up strategy and not being able to handle
And
this.
the crazy thing is, Lewis is enjoying driving that. He's the man finishing third and fourth, and he's smiling.
Come on.
I would
come
always
on.
remember a meme I saw that says maturity is driving a slow car quickly as opposed to driving a fast car quickly. Because that the energy, or more so the level of achievement you get of knowing that you've been able to push this limited vehicle to its limits and beyond, as opposed to something that is supposed to be able to do this without breaking a sweat. So I mean, let's say if I could go around Waterfield in a Peugeot and make a 48 seconds lap, but I jump in a Porsche and do the exact same thing, I'm gonna feel proud of doing it in a Peugeot than doing it in a Porsche.
Correct. All right. So Spa, Belgium, this weekend, just before the say the whole thing.
I can't pronounce it.
I can't pronounce it either. I'll put it in the YouTube
circuit
description.
Francorchamps.
I'll put it in the YouTube description, but I definitely cannot say it.
Somebody on the on YouTube teach us how to do the correct pronunciation. Give us the how to do it on the dashes and say Spa France
and break it up.
Yeah,
but I try to. I'm good.
Yeah.
Now, of course, as usual, the F1 weekend starts on Thursday. Of course, tomorrow we have our free practice. Saturday qualifiers, and of course Sunday is the big day. Who is going to win? Right? Max has a great penalty. Just reminding you guys of that.
Yeah, that is going to provide an exciting race.
But if we're looking at fantasy points wise, I think Max has a great chance of gaining a lot of ground because this is his ground. This is his track. He loves his track. Fast corners always suit Red Bull. Let's see. But I have to big up McLaren. They've worked on their braking issues and they're looking really sharp as well too.
And the entire package and
everything.
And that is to show you that you can have a great engine, but you need the aero package to deliver, because Mercedes and McLaren are running the exact same engine, but the McLaren just has an aero package that suits the car or suits the engine a bit better. And that is where it is. You see the importance of having the two elements come together and twin properly to give you the results that you want.
Yeah. No, so of course, as I just said, before we get into that, let's do the most important thing. So I'll leave that up. Right, so the weather forecast. This is very important before we start to predict anything. Because this helps with fantasy as well to know, well, all right, should we bring in the best racing driver, Lance Stroll, right? And
well, he did drink something before we start.
Right, of course, Lewis, massive solid in wet conditions as well too. Alonso solid, but Alonso has not been solid
performing correct.
Right, so of course the Belgian Grand Prix starts Friday, so of course the weather is set to be mixed over the 3 days of action. Let me try it out. Spa Francorchamps, right? I'll use them in French there. So free practice on Friday. Rain is expected throughout the day. Starting off very heavy in the morning before gradually easing off in the afternoon session. So that's not bad. Right. There's a 50% chance of rain for the first practice at 1:30 p.m. That's their time, right? European time. Second practice, it will be a 40% chance of rain. Qualifying on Saturday, it looks like a 50% chance of rain. Right. So of course that will make the fight or the contesting for pole position very interesting.
Not only that, this is where you have the outliers. Here you might see Albon end up in the top 10, where it's not the usual thing, because Albon is a good wet driver. So you have both experienced drivers at Haas in Nico and in Magnussen. So maybe they'll be able to put together a nice lap, and you see they end up in the top 10, they end up maybe in the top 15. That gives them that little edge to fight. And then is where you might have a situation where you get big boys caught out. You might have Norris not being able to hook up the tires or get into the temperature. And you have a McLaren and a Red Bull starting and the back fighting each other.
That would be great.
That would be interesting. Or you have a real outlier whereby you have Albon in 4th or 5th, and to see how is he going to keep up or just fall off completely. So I mean, honestly, I always enjoy a wet quali because it makes the race also more interesting. But honestly, this weekend is planning or showing out to be really good.
And well, the most important day, Sunday, they are saying there's a 10% chance of rain, so there should be they're expecting sunny conditions and great warm temperatures. So awesome. So that is good news. We are happy to see that always. But of course, a wet quali will always be awesome. I'll take that, and I'll take a dry race. That's a fair trade-off. That's a fair trade-off, right? I'll take that any day.
Or I would take a dry quali and a mixed race.
Like
something like
what we had in Silverstone. Definitely. Right. We only had 2 DNFs last time out. Piastri and Sainz DNF last time out. So I must say though, as you rightfully said, the script writers recently, right? No kind of serious accident. Yes, we had one.
The F1 gods are being good. They say we'll spare all their budgets. I mean, the only person who gets any real raw end of the stick is Gasly.
Right.
Last races. That's painful, especially when it is your teammate Ocon who's leaving the team at the end of the season. He's been good, although he hasn't been able to convert to points positions. But I mean, that must suck a lot. But I think he's the only person who's really suffering. You have Bottas and Zhou always fighting up in our last 5, which is understandable. They don't have a car. You have Haas who will start off strong in the weekend and then just fall off. But I mean, you had to give Nico his flowers because the man has been finishing the points consistently past race, and I feel like there's just so much going on. It's constantly ignored. There's that meme of somebody playing with each other in the pool, the next one drowning, and the next one just underwater, the skeleton at the under. Whereby I mean, the first weekend was the Lewis winning his thing.
Right.
Then he had I think Lando and Max accident, and then Nico finishing in the points. Then you had Piastri and Nico drama, Piastri and Lando drama, Max and Lewis accident, Nico making it in the points. So it's just unfortunate that he isn't getting the recognition that he deserves. At least in the mainstream media part of things. I mean, they will always ask me questions in the pit lane, giving him his flowers, congratulating whatever. But at the same time, it's not what is being most talked about. And at the end of the season, he is going to Audi next year, which is a great opportunity for him. People will say, "Oh, Audi is a team that they don't know where they're going, whatever."
But they pull in people.
I mean, they had some drama the other day because they brought in Matteo. For those who don't know, Matteo Binotto is the former Ferrari boss before Fred Vasseur took over. And people will say, I mean, Matteo didn't really do a lot or whatever, but at the end of the day, this is a man with experience in his sport for a really long time. Maybe there were powers that be at Ferrari that did not give him the leeway or the room that he wanted to do, because Audi is a team that is coming in. They are grateful to have that much of an experienced person on the team. So maybe they will give him that freedom and say, do what you got to do to make the team as great as possible. And we have an opportunity to see his tactical and technical genius, if you want to call it that.
If you want to say genius,
But I think too, they fired a couple of people and stuff like that. So it's like really to see what happens. But the nice thing with Audi is that they are more or less not a fresh canvas, because they're buying up Sauber and converting the team as the case may be. But the nice thing is that it's a works team. So more than likely, Nico is going to be getting an Audi to go home, because he's now going to be a brand ambassador for Audi at some extent. And outside of that, I mean, that's just like how in football, when it is a team partners with a football team, all the players get BMs or Audis or whatever the case might be. But the nice thing with it is they have a lot of way to go, in the sense of they're gonna join the sports. And they're gonna they're not gonna start off winning races, but they're gonna build, because they have that big manufacturer of Audi pushing them. Because at the end of the day, when you look at some of the top teams, it is those teams that have the backing of an actual car manufacturer. For example, Ferrari, Mercedes, McLaren. It is teams whereby it comes from, there's a specific name we call it, those manufacturer teams. And that is a great opportunity for him. It will be the first time he's driving for a manufacturer team. So I think he took the opportunity that came to him. That's why people were saying, it's a good option for Carlos Sainz. He's not going to be where he wants to start off, but it's a good opportunity in the long run, meaning the city will have the money to invest. But at the same time, for Carlos to take a step back from fighting for podiums to fighting up in the midfield, it is literally a step back. And maybe in his eyes, it's not worth it. I mean, maybe what a lot of people are saying, he could have taken a seat at Mercedes.
Yeah.
Although it is in the short term, see what he could do, build some charisma with the team, whatever, and decide if he wants to stay there. I mean, Mercedes is performing now.
Yeah.
So maybe he is requesting. I mean, all he talk now is that Mercedes is trying to secure Max. If they could get Max out his Red Bull seats. I don't know how I feel about that personally.
Yeah, I know.
As a person who has not forgiven Max for 2021, although it's not Max's fault.
It's not his fault.
It's really the FIA fault. It's Michael Massey's fault. It will be hard. It will hurt my heart to see Max in a Mercedes seat, but at the same time, I'll be happy as a Mercedes fan to see Max in the seat fighting Lewis. That is just gonna be like,
that's crazy.
If it is somebody went in a coma and say 2016 and woke up, they'll be like, what actual hell is going on?
What a mess. Yeah.
So it will be really interesting to see what Max would do in a Mercedes. I would love for Mercedes to say, hey, what, Lewis, come back for one race. Let's see what happens between you and equal machinery.
Madness.
But yeah.
All right. So of course, Spa coming up. Max, I think Michael, take it away and analyze the track for us.
So I'm gonna break down the track. I pulled out the names because there is 3 big corners you need to know when it comes to Francorchamps. In the sense that the very first corner, La Source, it is a very heavy braking corner into turn. It's a right-hander. The walls are right there. You're gonna see drivers pushing that right front wheel right up to the wall to really get the nice exit with a really long run into turn 2, then turn 3, and turn 4. Eau Rouge into Radion into Kimmel. So 2 and 3, that's Eau Rouge. It is a beautiful corner that you will see in many different types of racing. Not only in Formula 1, they use it in GT2, GT3. You see Porsche Cups and stuff, and the cars absolutely rocket up the hill there. It is a blind corner. As a driver, it is probably one of the most terrifying corners you could take, especially wet, because you flat out go in on the inside and you are going up and you are literally just seeing sky, and then you have to dip in on the right hand side, and that is that. So Eau Rouge and Radion flat out, and then the corner on Kimmel, that's flat out going straight. That's another DRS zone. Heavy braking into turn 5 and turn 6. That is less combis, and that is a chicane. And when it is you go to there is I'm not gonna try and pronounce these names because I'll get it wrong, but Malmedy. And then it's a nice long right hander of 8, a really nice curved curved corner, sorry, and left hander into 9. 10 is going to be maybe a light lift off. 11 is going to be flat, breaking into 12 and 13. Campus in 14. Paul Frere corner in 15. That's going to be, they're going to break into 14, wrap around the corner of 14, and then they're going to be on the power from 15 straight to 16.
Corner. We don't want to wrap around. I don't
They're just going to move around that corner.
Right.
And they're going to be flat out from 15 through 16, a little bit of braking into 17.
Right.
And then heavy braking into 18, 19, make the bend, and then power across the line into La Source. As you will see, there is 2 DRS zones. For the track, it's leading up to turn 1, so you're going to get some dive bombs into 1, which is always really fun to see, as well as you're going to see people trying to play the game. In that, they will try and use the DRS coming out using the DRS section in 1, get right up on the back of their person that they want to think, so as they could go through the DRS section zone, right behind them, up the hill through Eau Rouge, make the pass, maybe coming out of Radion, so that way as they reach onto that back straight, they're going to use the DRS to, if not get past, because they already get past the person, just use it to pull away. Because it is a longer track, you will see that it's only 44 laps compared to last week where it was 72 laps, I think it was.
Roughly, yeah.
So that's something you'll always see in Formula One. Once it's a longer track, you'll have less laps. If it's a shorter track, you'll have more laps. So it's really going to be an interesting weekend. As you said, we have some mixed weather, so we'll see how that plays in. As it relates to tire strategy, more than likely it will be a one-stopper. Some guys will pull for, but if it is the weather comes to play or barring anything unforeseen, if it is we have a safety car, definitely for sure people are going to dive into the pits. If it is we have a virtual safety car as well, people will dive in for the pits based on how early or late it comes. So it's definitely going to be a really enjoyable race. I'd say watch the strategies that persons come up with, especially if it is we have a safety car. If it's a dry race bone stock, then you're going to have people starting on the medium, switching to the hards and try and push it to the end. Or you might see somebody come out really aggressive, start on a soft. So if Max or when Max takes that 10th place, he's going to play one or two games. He's either going to play the long game, start on the hards and try and beat out everybody who comes, starts on hards, hope for a safety car somewhere around there, get a cheap pit stop, go on mediums and then run away the rest of the race. Or he's going to come out really aggressive, start on his softs, try and make up as many positions as possible and switch to the hards and then try and just build from there. Or so there's a lot of different ways that this weekend could go and it should be really interesting.
Reese, I like what she said. Max at Mercedes. She's not having that.
Yeah, I don't want it either. Personally, I don't want it, but if it happens,
so she'll give
because apparently Toto all down in Max's phone and telling him he could play as much sim racing as he wants.
Yeah, man. Oh boy,
he could sim race how much he wants.
What do you think about that? So I saw one story where they said, "Hey, Max." So you want him, and I saw another story with Max. No, they didn't tell me anything. I could.
So it's been building a while because I think it was one of the previous races, not Hungary, but I think
it was before
Before
it was
Hungary.
3 a.m. He was up.
Yeah, so the races at 4 in the afternoon, and my boy is up 3 o'clock in the morning doing sim racing, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? Whereas everybody else is fast asleep, getting their beauty sleep, making sure they're in the zone. My boy is up sim racing to go and then sleep. And then you have to remember, F1 drivers, their body clock is all over the place.
Correct.
Because they're traveling all over.
So
jet lag is a thing. So maybe they will try to get in. So like how we had back-to-back race weekends. When it is a race on a Sunday, maybe they spend a day Monday, they do the debrief, they fly over to wherever they're going. So they essentially only have Tuesday, Wednesday to adjust. Race weekend starts on Tuesday because as much as we don't see racing or qualifying or anything, on a Tuesday it's a long day of media.
Correct. Yeah,
that's why if it is you have the money and you do go to F1 race, please take me if it is you have the coin to sponsor. But it's a full day of they're going on stages, meeting fans, doing meet and greet, signing autographs, etc. And then Friday, Q1 in the car, Friday to Q2 as well. Then Saturday, FP3. And sorry, I was saying Q. So free practice, one free practice, two on the Friday, and then FP3 and quali on the Saturday. So it's a really packed weekend. They don't necessarily get a lot of time to sleep per se, or meaning to say, it's not like they have lazy days in between. There's always something going on. They have personal life, personal endeavors as well. For persons like Lewis, like you'll see Lewis leave a race on Sunday, then he might pop up at a fashion show somewhere, and then Monday he might be at another event. He has his different organizations that he manages or he contributes to. He might have to go to something for that, and then boom, you see him pop up at the race weekend, and they have their lives and they're constantly going as well. So it's really interesting to see. So getting back to Max and his sim racing, by all means, I have nothing on him. Sim racing is a really enjoyable thing in the sense that, as he says, it's an opportunity for him to see how sim drivers are, because he will say, I will always remember he was in an interview this that he said sim drivers are fast on the computer, faster than him, but in real life he's actually
Of
faster
course,
than
of
them.
course, of course.
Which is I mean a bit of cockiness and to it would it wouldn't translate because the G forces that you're pulling in
Different.
a sim you would
That-
never fathom that on your body in an actual car.
No.
But I think he enjoys it because he's able to race a different set of cars. I don't think he races Formula One cars. When he's sim racing, it might be DTM, it might be touring cars and that kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, these guys have lives, and people like Alonso, when they leave, they're not gonna just stop racing. They're more than likely going to transfer into some different thing. I mean, Alonso, for example, he already races in 24 hours at Le Mans with Toyota and stuff. So they have different aspirations. As much as Formula One is the pinnacle, there is that all beloved and all desiring trifecta of winning Monaco, winning the Indy 500, and then 24 hours of Le Mans. I think Alonso is the only person to get close to it, or he has 2 of the 3 to get it. So I mean, Max, when he finishes with Formula One, because I think even one time he said he has no desire to be like Lewis and get 7 and 8 titles. I think he's not running it down there. But it's good to see that, maybe that shows that he has a game plan. Okay, cool. I will try a different type of racing when I'm done with F1.
But is that a healthy thing you do in there? Because I mean, reaction time, energy.
Yeah, and then
I
think I put it
is
somewhere.
Is that bothering him right now?
Is it bothering him? No. I think for him it's maybe a little bit of immaturity or to show that, do I take this? It's like, dog, I'm gonna jump in, he can't win anyway. But I think now that McLaren is putting pressure, he needs to maybe refocus a little bit. But at the end of the day, he is a multiple time world champion. So maybe some people are being harsh on him.
Yeah.
He himself needs to take something. Is Red Bull telling him what to do? Honestly, don't believe they can.
Ever.
I honestly don't
believe
they can.
But it was interesting to see that headline. I'm like, what Red Bull actually telling Max?
That's it. Helmut might say something, but Helmut does tell everybody something. So, I mean, Helmut might say, hey, you need to cut that out, okay, sleep, whatever. But at the end of the day, once he jumps in, he delivers. It's not going to be a problem because in the past, he's done before. Come on Sunday and win the race. So, I think maybe he just get caught out this weekend. And maybe the strategy really did just stress him and upset him to that point.
He did say that,
so, I mean, maybe people are using him being up early or being up late more so sim racing to be an excuse why does he behave the way he behaved, but at the same time, that's Max.
Yeah, that's just Max. Yeah, we're not surprised. All right, so let's see what we can strategize here. So, of course, Team 2, let's see what we did last week quickly. So Team 2 won 48 against or thereabouts, right? So we had to improve on that. Right. So what can you see? The thing is the inflation, boy. So last week we took out Science and Protein Sergeant. Right, Sergeant didn't do much, but that's not. Let me see.
I'm trying to pull up my team to see what I did last weekend.
So the points that we got last week: 34 from Max, 0 from Nico, 4 from Yuki, 26 from Lewis.
0 from Nico, some cancel out or something like that.
I don't know what would have happened there, right? 1 from Logan. So imagine Logan got a right. 74 from McLaren. Yeah. And then of course 9 from Williams. Big up Williams though.
Yeah, and
that was a big gamble.
And that shows how you don't need to focus on bringing all the best drivers. Once you have the construct of a solid team, for example, McLaren right now, you're going to get double points every weekend. Mercedes, you're going to get double points. Ferrari still a little bit iffy right now. Red Bull, very iffy right now. But I think McLaren is a solid constructor to have on your team right now, barring anything unforeseen.
Yeah, correct.
But I think definitely having McLaren on your team is a way to go.
Yeah, because again, you don't want to go for the drivers, but you can have the constructors, correct, and it has been working out. We have Max, we have McLaren. I think that's one of the best combos. Lewis doing this thing recently too.
Yep.
So having a trifecta there of Max, Lewis, and McLaren. Can't go wrong. Yuki with some clutch points. Hulkenberg sometimes with clutch points. It's just the 5th driver that we have an issue with, but we had Sainz. We want to revert to Sainz. I wonder if we can safely get Sainz.
I mean, I'm just checking where my points were this weekend in Hungary. Actually, my second team pulled the most points, 175.
Nice.
And that's Carlos Sainz Lewis on the DRS, pulling 52 points. Alex Albon pulling 5 points. Yuki with 4. Nico with 0. So why? And this is why Nico got 0. He qualified 11th and ended up in 13th. So it cancelled out. So he got 2 points for race overtakes and then take away them 2 points for positions lost. So it's really harsh. Why does he got that 0 points? And then I had McLaren and Aston Martin. So 74 and 23 points, which is not bad. So I think as it relates to this team, we already have Max, we have Lewis, we have McLaren. So we're getting the 2 points from Oscar and Lando. We're getting Lewis points. We're getting Max points. Honestly, as I said, I would maybe sub Nico, and we have Sargent. I would probably see if it is we could do away with the both of them and see who we could get.
16. Oof.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Not ideal. Now, of course, we won't use any chips yet because it don't make sense because
this goes
going into the we're going into summer. All right, so that's the problem there. Okay, so 16 and 9.5, and then a 6, so a 9.7 is who? Gasly, never. No.
I mean, and even if you take Gasly and Albon, what kind of you don't have enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, for me, if it is I to choose for a Williams driver, it would always be Albon over Sargent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we already have the Williams car.
We have the constructor.
So
already.
I mean, we have 3 free slots to play with. Maybe let's take out the Williams and see if it is we could get. Maybe
we'll give him minus. There's only 2 he could do. 1 and 1.
You sure it's not true?
I think they're minus. But then there you go. Okay, 23. Still that does
that does nothing.
Because okay, let's look at
playing that low down the other,
So constructors.
Sauber is, I mean, it's not better than, although actually we could stay with Williams. Why? Because Spa is a weekend that Williams actually does well in.
Okay.
Once it is, you get that wrench in the weeks of whether it's rain or safety car.
Right, something right.
You tend to have, I think Albon puts it up there in quali last year, which was a big surprise. So I think we could stay with Williams, but let's see if we could stay away from their drivers in picking persons. If it is we went Danny Rick, that's 10, and then you'd have to go
27. Yeah, we'll have to go Logan.
You'd have to go with Sargent.
Even if it's Nico give us what 6.2. We still have to go Sargent.
Yeah, but I think Nico is not far cry. But we had Nico in it.
Nico already.
Yeah.
What about a wild Valtteri Bottas? He has the record.
I mean, yeah, he has the lap record. Maybe
Oh,
the odds be up in your favor, and you go Valtteri and Williams and see. Valtteri and Sargent, sorry. As much as I personally hate to double up driver and constructor because it feels a bit redundant.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it because you're getting their points already.
Nah, it's just tricky word because all this, because then you have to say, all right, let's get rid of Lewis, right? That's not making sense at all, Lewis.
At this current stage,
Lewis don't make a big change like that right now.
And not when he's been performing.
Exactly. No, he's
consistently
at that.
And that's the name of the game in fantasy, and I think in Formula 1. I think consistency is king.
So let's look at his points you're saying. So 1, 4, 8, 1, 8, 8, 8, minus 2, 10. I mean, for someone in this position, that's terrible. You got 1 point. I mean,
I think, and that's the thing. What I feel bad about with Valtteri is that nothing is wrong with Valtteri as a driver. The problem with Valtteri is the car that he's in.
The vehicle that he's
and he's just become this kind of happy-go-lucky kind of persona. The kind of ads that he's doing now is just not a Valtteri we've seen in a long time. I'm satisfied with that, to be honest.
Could try that.
That's what we can afford.
That's
the best we can do because it's better to have Albon over Sargent.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Sargent pull off a miracle, he'll get his points by having Williams as the constructor.
Yeah, by what the constructor. Why the hell not? Yeah, I think that's doable. I think that's it there. Continue. I will confirm. Always click that
free transfers.
Right, boom. So we get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we put it back down. That's right. Yeah, boom.
No, but you have
Yeah.
3 free transfers.
So, because our team for the week, our fantasy team for the week, the community team, we have Max, of course, DRS, that's not changing, especially as he has to chase it
I
back.
had it on Lewis.
No, good job.
But
Good job.
but the thing with having it on Max is, as you say, the overtaking points that he will get.
guaranteed.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Guaranteed. Because even if he finishes his poll, as we remind you guys, he does have a grid penalty, so you'll be back. So he has to finish poll for it to make sense.
For that, and when he finishes in 10, even if it is, we say he only makes up 5 points, that's 5 points that he's going to have added to finish in 5th, which gives you, I think, 10 or 12 points.
And then you will get fastest lap, and he might get driver of the day. So, you know, I'm going far, but you'll get fastest lap. But all that chase said he will get fastest lap.
More than likely. That if it is, he has the tires, they duck in and they take some sorts to snatch it at the end. But we could see, because at the end of the day, maybe Max ends up right up at the top if it is the strategy works.
Yeah.
And the script writers favor him.
Yeah.
I know he's okay, cool, we'll chuck in a safety car somewhere there because Sergeant can wrap it around a corner and Bennett. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Or I mean, maybe, you know, they have a sense of humor and they will put a safety car in the last 2 laps and then say, Lewis, go ahead and race Max and take the tire.
Hey. All right, so of course, Max, Bottas, Sonoda, Hamilton, Albon, and our constructors are McLaren and Williams. Let us know in the comment section what team you went with. You understand the struggle, guys. It's a huge struggle to try and, it's not like FPL, where you could at least bring in somebody, and the inflation in this season has been really heavy. Yeah, it's been really heavy.
16, 10 guys.
And that's it. There's no big gap. There's no big spike in performances. So it's not to say this week, Bottas and let's say Albon doing really well.
And it doesn't change in the sense of, okay, cool. In football, it's one team against one team. So if it is, you have a Tottenham versus, I guess, a lower edge team like a Brentford.
That's a team. No disrespect Brentford, but I mean,
okay, so if it's fine, a Man City versus
it's which. Right.
And it's that massive disparity. You know, okay, cool. You know for sure you're gonna bring in as many. Many City players. You think, or you find as many players who have those disparity games.
Yeah, correct.
But in F1, it's always the same people battling it out against each other. So at the end of it is you just need to get the best people at the end of the day, which happen to be the most expensive people.
But despite Max's dominance last season, I think we had a nice mixture of drivers that were popping up in the mid.
But I think this year you have this year, that's it. So last year the mid table was popping a lot more. I think this year, at least now into the season, is that first maybe 7 drivers who really just playing Russian roulette as to who is performing on the weekend. We'll see if things settle back down after the break. But it's really nice how things are progressing right now.
Reese, I'm happy that we are able to do that for you. I'm very happy. Right? Fantasy is fun. All right, so Michael, we're winding down there nice. Just under an hour. Beautiful. Love when the time works out that way. Final thoughts. Talk to me.
Final thoughts. I'm excited for this race weekend. I really want to see a safety car. Okay, I shouldn't say that because that means the first safety car to come on.
What you wish for, please.
Yeah, for safety car to come on means it had to be a serious accident. I don't want anybody to crash. I just want some drama.
Yes.
So whether it's a virtual safety car, man, match up his front wing and had him back to the pits. You know, a VSC come out, that would be some nice drama. If it is we get rain and we'll have to play with their strategies, that would be a nice thing to see as well. But I think Spa is just such a technical track in the sense of picking and breaking points and the types of corners that exist around Spa. If it is you have Gran Turismo, Assetto Corsa, go and drive. That's it. So that'll be my advice now. If it is you have some sim game, go and drive the track. You don't need it to be in a Formula 1 car. Take whatever car you could get and go and drive the track and get an appreciation for the track itself. And yeah, safety car.
Love it, Reese. A safety car
for sure. But yeah, just watch your race, enjoy it, have fun. if it is you are on the south side or you want to go for a Sunday drive, go and link up with the Caribbean F1 team.
Right.
They are in 519 in Sando. That's C3.
Yeah, C3.
Go enjoy, watch the race. We were at
All Out. Yeah.
All Out last week Sunday. It was really good. So by all means, support the community. Let's build that F1 community here in Trinidad and Tobago, and let's come together as one.
Yeah, of course, guys, don't forget to check your F1 fancy teams early on while you're watching the show. Do a small thinker, do a little research. Of course, the weather on quali should be very interesting. And then don't forget that Max has a 10-grid penalty. I want to thank everyone.
The race starts at 8 o'clock this weekend.
Yes, it's an early,
it's an early
start. Early
so don't line too late on Saturday. Yeah. If you do make up Sunday morning.
Let me check that really quick. You got, I have 9 a.m. here.
Okay, so
right?
It's 9 a.m.
So
okay,
9 a.m. And then, of course, there's a big break. And then the next race will be on the 25th of August in Max's homeland, right? Netherlands. So that should be interesting. So, of course, guys, take your time. Big up, Reese. Reese, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Right? You're glad you had us on tonight. Thank you very much. We appreciate the company. Thank you for your comments. It helps with the algorithm. Please tell all your friends to drop a like on it.
Please.
Right? We appreciate it. Share it around. We're trying to be here for you guys until we die. Right? We're trying to do this for a long time and eventually travel.
Yeah.
Trying to travel.
That's Papa.
I'm trying to get the FIA media accreditation, and we'll have a tab open there. Gonna show Michael something very interesting after. So yes, guys, help us out, support us. And it's not just F1, FPL, cricket. I'll be in Antigua for CPL coming up in a few weeks' time. So I'll be doing a show from Antigua for F1 very soon. So happy picking me or DRS driver win or make the top 10. And other than that, the all top 5, all your 5 drivers and your 2 constructors finish the race and in the points. We'll see you guys in the next one. Happy picking on behalf of Michael and the crew. Thanks very much for joining us, guys, and we hope that you have a great F1 weekend. Take care.
Good night.